about brethren in the Philippines. You may never meet this side of eternity. Brethren, we have to remember there's no competition in lighthouses. Let me say that again. There's no competition in lighthouses. Every lighthouse has a purpose. Every congregation on this earth has a purpose. Every mission work, for whatever that may mean. We've got mission work right here in our own county. Brethren in Avon Park and Lake Placid need encouragement. There's no competition in lighthouses. We had the privilege of working more recently in the Philippines. My work in the Philippines goes back to 1986 when I met a young teenager. That's not him then, he's him now. Josel Aguilar. I met him in Manila, Philippines when I was in that part, teaching in Singapore and in Taiwan. I was not able to see him again until 2008, 2014, when we went to the southern part of the Philippines called General Santos City. Let me back up just for a moment. General Santos City, if I can figure this thing out, is way down here on the bottom. Where we worked recently is right in this area of Cebu. We'll get to that in just a minute. One of the things that really impressed me about the work with Josel, a local evangelist, was his training the young men to teach. I'm going to show you in a minute where he actually worked himself out of a job. That's right. And when I went to the General Santos City in 2014 and made two other trips, we were able to see that. One of those trips Betty made with me. We made 3 trips. I made 3 trips to General Santos City. As I said, Josel worked himself out of a job. And he moved then to the central island called Cebu. The island is called Cebu, and then there is also the city, Cebu City, right there. And we were in this area north of Cebu City. We were able then to help Josel to start a new work. The work, really, it's not new. It's been going on for about 5 years. But what he's doing there and his family is working in the community north of what's called Cebu City, establishing a congregation of faithful Christians. We were able then to also renew acquaintance with his, of course, obviously older family then, and be able to have a part of that great work. Now, our work primarily was with this congregation. We'll have quite a bit to say about this as we proceed in our report. We were able, Betty and I were there in the last part of September and the first part of October, just last month, working with these brethren. You that have never traveled and worked with brethren don't know what you're missing. Yes, you do know I hope you know what you're missing. These are brethren in Christ, just like you and I. They have the same goals, they have the same needs, they have the same desires, they have the same problems as we have. They are faithful brethren in Christ. Not only were we able to meet with the brethren in that area of Cebu, but also there were brethren from neighboring islands that came over. This brother, if I can show you, this brother here is from a nearby island named Niros. And he came and was there almost the whole week that we were actually there in teaching. His name is Wiley. Those are not his family. The lady to the left is his daughter. The others are local Christian. His wife died a couple years ago with cancer. Our primary, or I should say my primary work, let me back up here. I hit that too quick. My primary work was to go and work with these students that Josel is working with, as he did in General Santos City 5 years ago. Same purpose. His objective is eventually to work himself out of a job. That's what the work of an evangelist is. We probably have not learned that. And I hope that as he continues his success, these are some local men, and these were some that came from the neighboring islands for the time that we were there. We also met in the evening, and we had various lessons on a wide range of subjects. Let me back up for a moment to these men. I taught them in many different areas: leadership, obviously based upon Nehemiah; evangelism. I talked to them about being a man. That's right. Many other things, trying to add to the teaching that Josel and his family are doing. And as I said, we met in the evening with those that were available, again discussing many different subjects. And during the no class time, we were able to spend time with them personally, as you see here and as you see here. Many questions, personal questions about us and our lives. They are always interested in, of course, what we do, how we do it, what different situations. And it's amazing when we tell them, and this is true in all the areas of work that we are involved in, they are surprised when they find out that we have the same problems they do. In family, in society, and yes, even in the church. But in a small congregation, of course, sometimes those problems are more evident than in a larger congregation. Problems sort of get covered up or not known. But that's not true generally in a smaller congregation. And we were also able to meet with those that they were studying with. This is a young couple that we met. I'm not even going to try to remember their names. And an interesting thing, they did not have a copy of the Bible. Now that may be strange to us. And what the church did, they went and bought them copies of the Bible. And to my knowledge, they are now continuing in their study. One day we made a trip to the northern tip of the island. Now, Cebu City, and where we were working north of there, is in the central area. We made to the extreme northern end of the island and met with people that Josel and the others are studying with. Two of these young men to my right are students that went with him up there. And we just learned recently in the last couple days that one of those ladies that we met with, a school teacher, as you can see, obeyed the gospel, was born into God's kingdom. This is the great work that they are doing, like anywhere else. See, the gospel, brethren, the gospel has the same power in the same in any language when it is received in honest and good hearts. That's true here, and that's true anywhere in the world. It's not a different language. It is the same. Betty was able to have several classes with the ladies. On Sunday morning, we do not have pictures of that. She had a class with the ladies, and I had a class with the men, the 2 Sundays that we were there. She had, again, opportunities that we had to meet privately and with the church collectively. Now, as you can see, the building that we are there, this is the building that they are now meeting. They built this little building by themselves. This is probably a more earlier picture. As you can see, this is a lot in a small subdivision, probably a quarter mile off of the main road that runs north and south throughout the island. A typical neighborhood. And what I want to show you here, I'm going to back up, I want to show you. This is similar to the building that was first built in General Santos City when Josel went there. I do not have an exterior of the building that now exists in General Santos City. Here's a picture of the inside. You see progress, a lot of progress. And this is the same objective that is going to be accomplished in Cebu. You say, well, what is this? Well, a couple years ago, and I don't remember the exact period of time, they had a cyclone. And that little building that they had built by hand, that's what was left of it. Well, what did they do? Well, what do? You start rebuilding. And this is exactly what they have done. And they have now, of course, the building back into its usable stage. All right. Now, the next level, as I said, this is a small subdivision. That's the best way that I can explain it. I don't know whoever came up with the idea, a picture is worth 1,000 words. I question that. You have no idea what's behind these pictures. Betty and I do. We've been there. And that's true with any picture you make. That's why a lot of people are not interested in the pictures you make on a trip. Don't be offended by that. Don't take it personal. You know the background, and they don't. So why bore them with your pictures? And this is not going to be very long, because you don't know what's behind these pictures. We do. You cannot taste, you cannot smell, you cannot see, you cannot feel. And those of you that have traveled know exactly what I'm talking about. But now the next project for these is to expand the land there in that little subdivision. And what they have done, they are in the process of buying this corner lot, which is actually a couple lots down from the present building. The lots next door to the building were not available now. There's about $13,000 left on paying off that payment, which is due next year. Yes, there are financial problems, there are financial needs, just like here. If you are interested in being a part of paying off that loan, if you will see me, I'll show you how to do it. And join us in getting this out of the way, and then they can clear that lot. Now, I don't know whether you can see that red car that right down there. Well, this is the lot right here. There are 2 small lots between it, But what they'll do when they get this paid off and then start accumulating money, they will build a building on that lot. This, if I can show you, let me back up just a minute here. Let me show you here. All right, in front of the car, you cannot see that, sort of the area where they prepare food, and then off to the right, just to the right of the car, is 2 rooms where the students stay, those that do not live in the area. Of course, eventually, that can, when they build the building down there, will be able to be used. All right, before we left, the Monday before we left, we got away from the local diet, which every meal consists of rice. Basically, every meal has rice. Now, those of you that had traveled, some of you know what I'm talking about, is of all kinds of mixture of rice, but we decided we're going to get off the local menu and have pizza, something they do not have often because they cannot afford it. All right, this was the Monday morning before we left on Tuesday. Brethren, I cannot express to you, and those of you, and I realize some of you have done this, and I know some of you have done this, these pictures do not tell the whole story. Hopefully that you will be mindful of these brethren. And I can't even pronounce the area. I know it's just north of Cebu City. Their local dialect, and each of these, well, not each island, there are 7,000 islands in the Philippines. It's a 14-hour flight from LA to Manila. All of our travels, God has provided us with the income to His honor and to His glory. All of these efforts, and the older we get, I'm speaking for myself, the older we get, the harder it is because of the jet lag. 12 hours difference in time. It may now be 13 since when we changed our time. So it is, 1 o'clock Monday morning. And those of you that have traveled know what I'm talking about. So I would encourage you. This is Joselle in being pretty current pictures. This couple and their families have a good track record of work. I have met with them, correspond with them repeatedly. All right, let me stop here for a few moments. So we want to honor our time. And does anybody have any questions? Or now, Don, you're going to have to speak up, you know.
I'll be fine. Have they got to the point of maturity where they have like an eldership yet?
Oh no! No. They're a long ways from that. Just like Kevin mentioned in Guyana. No. They are mindful of that and working toward that. I am not aware, personally, because I'm not that much informed in all the other areas. I'm sure there are some congregations that have elderships. But this is one of the things I discussed with them, those young men. But no, those that we work with, no, to answer your question. Future, yes. Anybody else? Cost of living. When the Ukrainian war started, or whatever you want to call it, started, how can I explain this? A liter of gas cost about 70-something of their money. And that would be, I really cannot right now, can't exchange, but when the Ukrainian war started, it jumped up to 2. In other words, it more than doubled. So they can't afford that. They can't afford that. One of Joselle's children, Grant, had a job, and he's in the process of changing job, but his job for that salary on that job was $300 a month, the equivalent of $300 US. Doing the best they can. Doing the best they can. A lot of similarity in this situation and like in Guyana. And let me tell you something, brethren, we got it made. We got it made. We better never for one moment take that for granted. We just celebrated yesterday, Veterans Day, but if it wasn't God's providence, we wouldn't have what we have.
Amen.
Anybody else? If you want more information, whatever I can do, Betty and I, we would be glad to meet with you. I just wanted to give you a little, and I appreciate this opportunity. There's no competition between this and Guyana or anywhere. I want to understand that. Yes, Justin?
I might have missed it. How often do you try to make a trip out there, Frank?
I'm sorry.
How often do you make a trip out to the Philippines?
How long? Well, we were just gone this time 2 weeks.
How often? Is it an every year thing?
How often?
How often?
Yes.
Opportunity and money.
Okay.
Opportunity and money. We have probably gone more since we cannot go to Ukraine because of the war.
Hey, Frank,
Okay. Yes.
what's the big competition for the church over there, Catholic or what?
Yes. Oh, yes. Yes. Predominant Catholic. Yes. Right down the Betty.
I was just going to say, up until the war, we were going every year to Ukraine.
Yes. Right. In Ukraine, we were going. It's not quite as far. This is a hard trip. This is a hard trip. And 87 years old, it gets harder. But we're not going to quit. We're not going to quit, the Lord willing. Anybody else? Anybody else? We'll be glad to. I'm sorry.
Who did the picture?
Do what?
Who did the picture?
Well, let me see if I can. Joselle Bing's daughter, Lois. She was going to meet us at the airport with that, but it didn't work out that way. Didn't work out that way. Well, that's a pretty good pictures, aren't they? Yeah, we agree with that. Pretty good pictures. All right. How did I get back there? All right. Anybody else? Thoughts? Okay. Thank you for staying. And again, we are available for personal information or